All right. What is going on, everybody? Welcome on back to the Cinema Lords podcast. Recording for a second day in a row. Things are staying busy here. I love to see it. Today is going to be a quick one. I'm just going to be reviewing Beetlejuice 2. I'm also doing this in the middle of the afternoon. My neighbor's doing power tools and shit, so if you guys hear that, I'm sorry. I got all the windows closed and shit, but I can still hear it, so I'm sure there'll be a couple times when it'll get picked up on my mic. It's also like 2 billion degrees in here with the windows closed and all these lights on, so it's just a review, so we're going to be quick anyway, but might be a little bit faster than I normally would have just because of that, but we'll see. Beetlejuice 2. Or Beetlejuice, however you want to refer to it as. A sequel 30 years in the making, roughly, something like that. Let's see exactly, actually. Let's see, 1988. Damn, so we're talking about 35 years, pretty much. 35 years between these movies. And if you guys haven't heard me say it before, Beetlejuice is like a massive, massive movie for me. Like, it was one of my favorite movies as a kid. It's still one of my favorite movies now. I watch it like every single year, multiple times, I would say. Like always once during Halloween season. And then I would say at some random point during the year, a snow day or a sick day, I'll toss it on again. So I would say like 2 times a year. And that's basically been like my entire life. When I was younger, I probably watched it more. I probably watched it 3, 4, 5 times a year. So this is a movie, well, the first one, I'm sorry. It's a movie that I've seen a lot of times. It's near and dear to my heart. So when you hear about a sequel 35 years later, I was A, very excited, but B, also a little hesitant and a little nervous because you just don't know what you're going to get, especially with Tim Burton, who hasn't exactly been putting out heat for the last 2 decades. He's got a couple of hits here and there, but for the most part, it's been a lot of stinkers. Everyone's obviously a lot older. Michael Keaton, Catherine O'Hara, Winona Ryder, everyone's going to be much older. So it's like, how is this going to go? And I can happily say I fucking loved this movie. Like, it was everything that I could have possibly wanted. I loved it. I can't wait to watch it again. Went and checked it out on Sunday. Went with my lady. Went to go see it in IMAX in Providence, like always, which everything's always better in IMAX. But this was awesome. I mean, I think we actually enjoyed it probably more than everybody else in the theater because you could hear us laughing over everybody else. We both loved it. This, obviously the original, definitely funny. But I don't think like it's super, super, super heavy on the comedy. Like, comedy mixed in, but it's still trying to be creepy. And this movie, Beetlejuice 2, this movie's fucking hilarious. Or at least it was to me. I think it's way funnier than the original. I was cracking up through a large, large percentage of this movie. I like that they also stayed, in a way, like true to the original in the sense that obviously technology and camera has come so far since the original. And it's got a lot of goofy looking scenes, especially when you think about the sand snakes and the desert and all of that stuff. And they kept that true, which, if you're listening to this right now and you haven't seen the movie, there's a ton of spoilers coming. So if you don't want that, I suggest coming back. But like I was saying, like the sand snakes in the desert, that scene still looked wicked, goofy, and wonky. That made me really, really happy. There's a scene in particular that I fucking thought was great that I'm going to get to in a minute that also goes right along the same lines of keeping things look funky and goofy and not exactly like, top-notch cinema for the year of 2024, which I think works because Beetlejuice is, at least to me, almost supposed to be like a little dirty, a little grimy. Like, it's not supposed to be this perfectly cleaned up movie. Like, it's goofy, it should feel like it's in an attic, if that makes any sense. Obviously, so much of this movie takes place in an attic. It should feel like that. Like I said, dirty, a little musty, you know what I mean? And I thought they did a good job of keeping true to that. So let's go through the specifics real quick. Michael Keaton, falling right back into the role, I thought he did it seamlessly. I thought that his mannerisms, the things that he says, which is obviously script, but just the way he carries himself basically throughout the entire movie, the hand gestures, the way, like I said, his mannerisms, the way he's like kind of always moving and doing funky things when he's talking. I thought he fell back in seamlessly. The only thing that I think you can take away, not even negative, but you put a little asterisk next to it, is the guy is 35 years older. So he's not going to hit those same like high-pitched notes in his voice that is from the original. This one's a little bit more, you can tell he's aging, you know what I mean? He's just got a little bit of an older man voice, but obviously they age up Beetlejuice a little bit in the movie, so it kind of works and kind of plays. But you could definitely notice. I think it was something I noticed as soon as the movie opened and he was on screen for the first time, but it very quickly faded off, and I didn't even think about it again. But something definitely that you'll notice. But again, you know, he's aging. What the fuck are you supposed to do? But Michael Keaton was fucking awesome. Catherine O'Hara, who plays Winona Ryder's mother. Don't really care about her character much at all in the original. She was great in this one. Liked her character so much more. She was so funny. They made her a little bit more over the top than they did in the first one in regards to her thoughts about herself and, you know, how narcissistic and self-centered she is. Everything's always about her. They played that up a little bit higher, which I thought hit. She cracked me up in this. I thought she was so much better than the original. Obviously, she had a big opening to get more screen time because the Maitlands aren't in the movie. They moved on from the original. They were able to go to the afterlife. So there was a lot of screen time that was opened up for new characters. And Catherine O'Hara's character was definitely one of them. And I thought it was great. I really liked her in this movie. Very, very funny. Speaking of screen time that opened up, we introduced two new characters. Actually, we introduced more than two new characters. We definitely introduced more than two. But two big stars, I guess. The first is Willem Dafoe, who is always amazing. He's one of my favorite guys in Hollywood. Anytime that I see him in anything, I go into it, A, knowing he's going to be good in it, and B, assuming that the movie as a whole is going to be pretty good. He elevates movies. He's fantastic. He's always so great. And there's what I was just mentioning about the power tools right there. Not sure if the mic picked that one up, but there's a nice little electric screwdriver or some shit for those of you that are listening. But like I said, Willem Dafoe, I thought he was great in this, like he always is. He cracked me up. I thought he was very funny. And he's filling in for a character, what was her name there? Juno, who's the caseworker for, you know, all of the dead. She was one of my favorite parts of the original movie, and he kind of filled in for her role, playing the same kind of role. And I thought he was great. I thought he was very, very funny. I enjoyed him a lot in this, and you know, like I said, always enjoy him in everything. So that's not a surprise. Jenna Ortega, who I also like, I think she's good. I really like the movie X. Wednesday wasn't necessarily a show that was like, I'm not its target audience, but I still enjoyed it. Like I thought it was a good show. Like I understand why so many people loved it. Like I said, I wasn't necessarily its demo, but I still came away. I was like, yeah, that was a fine show. I liked it. I'm not sure it's something I'll ever go back and watch again, but still, like I said, you know, it was not something I had to power through or anything like that. It was an easy watch too. I like her in the new Scream movies as well. So I'm a fan of Jenna Ortega. This, I just thought she was fine. Nothing to write home about. Just kind of almost a boring, I don't want to say boring, but kind of just a quiet appearance. Like she doesn't really do anything to set the movie over the top, or really, she doesn't do what like say William Dafoe does, in my opinion, and like elevate the movie to a new level. It's nice to have her there for sure, but nothing special. I did enjoy, I guess, her overall story arc. I did like the stuff with the boyfriend, or whatever you want to call him. I thought it was a nice little twist. Then they took it like really like deep as far as him like killing his parents, and then they show his two parents, and they got fucking, I think one of them's got like an axe in their head, and the other one's got like some kind of kitchen like beater fucking utensil like shoved through her head. So that I thought was a pretty cool twist and kind of dark, but I was like, all right, that was I liked it. I liked that part of the movie. I was entertained by it. I thought it was good. I didn't see it coming. So, but overall, Jenna Ortega's character, it's fine. It's nice to have her in the movie, but nothing, like I said, nothing to write home about. So let's get into, that's most of the cast. Let's get into some of the scenes that I really liked in particular before we wrap things up. I thought that they handled Jeffrey Jones's real life death in a very, very funny fashion. They make kind of like a little joke or two during the funeral scene, but I thought what really stood out was the retelling of his death in the movie in the claymation. Fucking died. I thought it was so funny, and this is also what I was referring to with keeping like the wonky, goofy feel of the original movie. I thought this fit in perfectly. When it skipped into claymation right away before I even saw the scene itself, I was already like laughing. I was like, okay, this is almost a little wild. I was like, oh shit, like, is this really what they're gonna do? Fucking hilarious. From a plane crash to drowning to being eaten by a shark. Wicked, wicked funny. Absolutely loved that scene. Thought the funeral scene was very, very funny. That Rory character, obviously he was supposed to be wildly annoying. Hit that nail on the head there, because this guy was, every time he was on screen, I was just like, oh, brother, please just get off of my screen. But I thought it was very funny of the idea of him just being like, oh, like he says, like, I met your father a handful of times. And then like 3 minutes later, he's like, telling everybody about how great of a guy he was and how he liked to take life by the balls and fucking proposes. And obviously that was a debacle, but even that was funny. Like she says no, and then a few minutes later she's like, all right, fine. And he's just like, she said yes. She said yes. It was fucking, I'm not gonna lie, that had me laughing. But the funeral was very good, and then the claymation, both those scenes in regards to Jeffrey Jones's character and his death, Charles, I thought was good. I thought it was funny. I really liked the way they did that. Arguably my favorite part of this entire movie, and right up there with like my favorite scene from both of these movies, is Beetlejuice retelling Bob, or telling Bob the story of how he met his wife, who's the villain of the movie, obviously, and what went wrong. And he's like, all right, let me tell you. And then it switches to black and white, and the whole story's in Spanish, told from some totally different guy who I can't imagine is Michael Keaton. It's a different voice. Like, just so fucking funny. I mean, this is one of the times I was saying, like, me and my girl were, like, laughing harder than everybody else in the theater. You could hear, which obviously we're both fucking loud-ass people, which helps, too. But you could hear our laughter above the rest of the theater. Like, I just thought it was hysterical. And again, I thought it fit the mold for what this movie's supposed to be. Goofy, crazy, outrageous. Loved it. Absolutely loved it. Probably my favorite scene of either of these movies. And then let's see, end sequence. The end sequence, the wedding was awesome. I thought it was wicked well done. I thought they knocked it out of the park. The contract that Michael Keaton had her sign, very funny. The actual wedding, wedding service, the actual ceremony. There you go. That's a better word. The actual ceremony, when they start, they all start singing and dancing like they do in multiple times in the original to some like old ass song. If I had to guess, I would have guessed it's from like the 50s or 60s. It sounds like something that my dad would definitely listen to, and he's a fan of the oldies. But them singing it to one another, Winona Ryder being like completely confused, and then Beetlejuice just being like as romantic as he can. He's like making googly eyes at her and all that. Thought it was awesome. The dancing was awesome. And then I thought the transition of music, once Willem Dafoe and like the, whatever you want to call them, like the police officers of death show up, and they're like going to raid this whole thing, and they're switching back and forth and back and forth, and they're switching they're changing the music seamlessly the entire time. I loved it. I thought it was very well done. I thought it made it funnier. I thought the music switch elevated the scene and made it even funnier. And then, of course, kind of ends the same way the first one does, with a little loophole that they're able to find. And, of course, Winona Ryder's character doesn't end up actually having to marry Beetlejuice, which is, if they make a third one, that's exactly how I want like these movies to end. I need Beetlejuice and Winona Ryder's character to actually get married, and like Beetlejuice just like sails off into the romantic sunset. I would love it. I would absolutely love it. It'd be the perfect ending for me. Or maybe Winona Ryder's character dies, and then like in the afterlife, her and Beetlejuice get together. I don't know, but I loved this movie. I really did. I cannot wait to watch it again. It's not something I'm going to go see in theaters again. Like, I've been doing a lot more lately. Not a lot more, but a couple of movies I've gone and see twice over the last like year or so, which I hadn't done in a long time. But as soon as it comes out, I will be there with bells on, ready to check it out again. I know my girl said the exact same thing. She can't wait to see it again. She's not obviously, but she's also a big fan of the original. So this movie was big for both of us, and it was nailed. Perfect execution. Everything that I could have wanted out of it. Great new additions. Old actors and actresses doing great performances all over again. Just so many laughs. So funny. Way funnier than I expected it to be. Looked awesome. I really loved it. Can't say enough good things about it. B+, A-. I think it's hard for a movie like this to be like an A+ because it is so goofy and outrageous and all of that. But for me personally, like I said, as someone who loved the original, knocked it out of the park. I think that's pretty much all I got for the review. If you guys have anything to add, let me know. Shoot something else to me in the comments. Something if you liked or didn't like. I would really like to hear a perspective from some people who didn't like the movie and why they didn't like it. Because to me, I just feel like this is just a fun movie for everybody. Like I don't see how you can watch this and just be like, oh, that sucked. Like, even if it wasn't necessarily like your bag, I feel like you still have to come away and just be like, you know, like there was some parts that were funny. Obviously, Michael Keaton, Willem Dafoe, like they're great, yada yada yada. Like I've watched way worse movies and I've spent my time in way worse ways than watching this. I just don't see how you can come away hating this movie. But I would like to hear from some people who maybe it wasn't up their alley, wasn't the bag of tea for them. But that's gonna wrap it up for me here again today. Going to be keeping up with the Rings of Power weekly recaps. So if you're a fan of Lord of the Rings, make sure to keep coming back for those. We're going to be doing a couple of movie reviews still. We got a pretty packed fall in comparison to normal as far as the theater. So definitely got some more movie reviews coming. We have our next movie draft coming at the end of September, which I'm very excited for that. And then also, I got a nice little show that's in the works, something that's going to be very different, going to have hopefully a pretty big guest, and that'll be around Halloween time, maybe like the 3rd or 4th week of October, which I'm very excited for that. But like I said at the top, podcast rolled this summer. We did so much, and I want to keep it up. I got that itch back like I had when I first started. Like I want to just be in here pounding out episodes as often as I can. So I'll be talking to you guys a lot, and I'll be talking to you guys again soon. I hope you guys enjoyed the review. I'll talk to you guys all soon. And as always, happy watching.